GM. GM. Wednesday, 30th. It's not Wednesday, it's not the 30th. It is the 30th, but it's Tuesday. There we go. Tuesday, 30th of January. GM. So yesterday, we had Yellen, Treasury Secretary, out talking. She said, no reason for a recession this year. This Zero Hedge post actually sums it up quite nicely. But after the election, she sees a reason. So, like I've been saying for weeks, and it seems to be the path we're following, they're not going to allow anything bad to happen before the election, because that would be political suicide. And then after the election, it doesn't matter. Right? So, what does this mean for us? It means they're going to keep juicing the markets until at least November. And, you know, if Trump wins, they'll leave him to deal with the mess. And if Biden wins, they'll just keep printing, I guess. Or they'll allow it all to fall to shit in 2025, knowing that it doesn't matter, because the next election isn't until 2028, and it's going to have to be a different president anyway. So, the simple fact is, she's literally telling you what's happening, and your only job is to keep holding hard assets. They're going to make the deficit worse. They're going to cut rates. They're going to reduce QT, and eventually, they're going to print again as soon as there's any sign of stress in the financial system. So, let's just fucking ride it while we have it. Yeah? Good. Now, that's only one part. The bigger, more important part is on Wednesday, when the Treasury announces how they're going to finance debt, either through short or long-term bonds, bills, T-bills. So we'll see. As I said, that's tomorrow. We don't know. We'll wait and see then. Powell and the FOMC, the Fed meeting, is also tomorrow. So tomorrow is more important than today. Today, quite likely, is going to be a consolidative day. I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin take out today's high and fall back and then just consolidate. Well, maybe not that much, but take today's high out, fall back, consolidate on Wednesday, sorry. And then if we're going to move higher, probably Thursday or Friday. Similarly, if we're going to move lower, Thursday, Friday. I think that's probably your most likely path. So, I would guess that today is going to be a little bit of a non-event in terms of the markets. We hit the level, we hit that T2, we hit the liquidity, the stops were resting there from the breakdown. I'll look at that more on trade of the day. But I want to now look at, since we've come off the lows, what's been happening with Bitcoin and altcoins. So, let me hide all this. Look at Solana's been doing well for an individual alt. And we'll look at total 3 for a full picture of the alts. So here's Solana, here's total 3, and we'll put Bitcoin on top. Bitcoin there, total 3 down here, and Solana in the middle. So Bitcoin's initial breakdown level was reclaimed back on Friday. Solana lagged it slightly, but Solana has now pushed up higher. Bitcoin reaching up to its Tuesday highs from the previous week. Solana doing the same. So Sol performing quite well out of the major alts. Total 3 lagging behind that. So Total 3 is only just getting above its Sunday levels here, where the breakdown came from a week and a half ago, which overall is pretty good, pretty healthy. It means that when you zoom out even further and you compare these 3 charts across each other, the market is still broadly risk off for alts. Not risk off, I guess consolidation more so, but that's good. You don't want to see necessarily alts as a whole massively outperforming Bitcoin, and they're not. You can see alts moving up, you can see Bitcoin moving up, you can see Solana moving up. So, to me, Market seems pretty balanced, pretty healthy at this point. How much higher do we go from here? Don't know. To me, it doesn't really matter because I think there's going to be either a pullback or a significant consolidation. Right, so the absolute last thing you want to do is be shorting here. Just don't fucking do it. It might pull back from here, right? I've taken profit on my long because that's an obvious area for liquidity to get hit and pull back. But there's no guarantees. A lot of people are like, oh, it's got to pull back into this gap. It doesn't. It can go higher. It can go higher and keep grinding and grinding and grinding. It could take out 50k and then go back. It could consolidate and chop around. Right? There's a bunch of different paths that Bitcoin can take. All of which would be totally normal. None of these would be a massive surprise. Or if you see, like, this, of course, could happen, but that's what everyone's expecting. Right? Everyone's like, oh, we've rallied up, we have to pull back, we want to buy the dip, want to get long. To me, that's the least likely path. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it just keeps grinding up. And grinding and grinding and grinding. And even then, just breaks out. Right? And there's no significant pullback. It bounces up into what looks like a lower high. So sort of a lower high trap. And it gets everyone nice and bearish. Maybe we have a dip down in between. Where it seems like it's going to sell off. Recovers back. Goes. Again, you don't want to predict or guess any of these paths. That's why you just buy spot on the corrections. Like I was saying, so we buy spot last week. Whenever our price was down at the lows and everyone was panicking, buy your spot. It's still a bull market. Play the bull market. As for your trading, you have to trade that in between. But there's one path. The second most obvious path is this, where we push higher and then we pull back. We pull back all the way to the lows, and potentially we go lower as well, but let's just say we pull back, right? Whether it goes to new lows after that, definitely could, or whether it just goes sideways and then up, definitely could. But the only thing that matters for you as a trader is the pullback part. Because if your path is correct and Bitcoin pushes to 45 and then goes back to 39 or 40, then getting long here makes no sense. Right? Your upside is limited, your downside risk is greater. And time is going to tell you that. If you fast forward a week to next Tuesday and we're still around this area here, that red path is pretty much invalidated. Right? Especially if price is starting to push like this. That's a clear sign that the market's actually, basically anything below this 40k was overdone, shouldn't have been done, and we'll go potentially higher after that. One good level to watch for this is this 42k. This is your key level, this red zone. If you remember, it was where I'd drawn the path of volume profile. So from the trend up, since the day of the fake pump to the top, and it wasn't to the top, I actually drew it to the Sunday. There we have the point of control. So of all the move up and then the flush back down to 40k, so before we actually lost 40k, briefly, this was the highest volume point. We're back above that. Now we're not significantly above it, but where I've marked the red zone is definitely a key level to watch. If we see Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks, you know, if you see Bitcoin do something like this, where it holds, I'll take away these, don't need them. If we see Bitcoin moving like this, where we stay up above, we come back, but it holds above 42.5, 42.6, that's really bullish. That's super bullish. Back below 42.6, it puts you into this much more tricky range. Oh, it's where volatility probably dies off. So if Bitcoin falls back inside here and starts to chop around like that, that's quite unknown, right? We're still above 40, that's fine from one sense, but we're below that main volume node at 42, so it could easily drift lower. And at that point, if we're back down here, you want to wait again for it to reclaim the red. So a lot of it will depend on the Fed. It's the FOMC meeting tomorrow. They're not going to raise rates. It's basically 98% probability that they're going to keep rates where they are. So it's not going to be the rate hike or rate cut. that really has any impact. It's going to be more, what does Powell say in his press conference? Because you know they're going to ask him, when are you cutting rates? When are you reducing the balance sheet? Or sorry, reducing QT, stopping QT? When are you possibly even going to ease? When are you going to add liquidity? They're going to ask about, what do you think of the stock market? What do you think of inflation? Is inflation coming back? Is it going away? What do you think about the strong GDP numbers? And so Powell's words are all important on Wednesday for the market. Outside of that, we've had yesterday, as I mentioned this several weeks ago, as something to keep on your radar. If you type in Bitcoin ETF now into Google, do I get ads? I don't get ads on I don't get ads on Google, do I? Because I've got Brave browser, which is G, blocks the ads. But excuse me, matrix attack. On Google Ads now, Google ad policy, 29th of January, you can now see ads for ETFs, and BlackRock are already doing it. I saw someone share it in the chat, or I saw someone share it on Twitter, I think. ETF Google ad. You'll be able to see it here. There we go. We now have these on Google. Fucking Google. This is the first time, guys. This is the first time this has ever happened. This is literally a brand new market, or a brand new medium of advertising. And you can be sure they're going to be pumping fucking millions of dollars into that. And then, of course, coming up next Sunday, which is the 11th, we have the Super Bowl. So we've got the Super Bowl on the 11th, and we've got Chinese New Year on the 10th, both of which are potential positive catalysts for sentiment, not necessarily for price, but Asians and Chinese investors especially, they tend to, if the outlook for markets is bullish for that year, or they're feeling lucky, you know, the whole zodiac, and a lot of it's based around luck, big believers in that, then the market can perform well going into the Chinese New Year. And crypto is very much an Asian thing. The US and all that, especially Bitcoin, were much later adopters than the Asians. Even though it was created by, basically, fucking, like Satoshi, for all the best guesses, was former NSA intelligence. And I think the most credible theory about Bitcoin itself is that it was like a lab leak. That's the one I would probably most lean towards, where it was cryptographers working for the US intelligence, and they essentially released this, and it got out, and it wasn't supposed to get out, and once it got out, you can't stop it. That'd be what I would lean towards. I don't think Satoshi's still alive. I think it was one person from, again, I'm not an expert, but I've listened to millions of fucking podcasts on it, and read things about it, and spoken to people, and listened to people, and they seem to think that all of the, you know, when they analyze his writing style, his coding style, all that kind of stuff, it seems to be one person. So probably a rogue coder who's a genuine, like, freedom maxi that was roped in by the intelligence agencies. Which, by the way, like, people talk about this as if the CIA invented Bitcoin, or if you're Dan Pena, you think that Putin invented Bitcoin.